If you spend time in parks or on university campuses, this is probably a familiar sight, where a concrete path has been established long ago, but because of a change in the location of some destination or because people prefer a shortcut over the predetermined circuitous paved route, they walk their own path, even if it is through the mud and muck or directly through an established garden. Though every country has their own name for them, they are generally referred to as desire lines. These informal paths tend to be self-reinforcing. Once a few people find a more desirable route, others soon follow, and the informal path is set in everything but stone. These paths exist for any number of reasons, and in this case, here in Victoria Park, for example, it's clear that the pedestrians wanted to cross the street and enter the park rather than take the detour a few meters to the park entrance. Sometimes there is a clear shortcut where following the footpaths is an unnecessary impediment to a quick trip, especially where an open green space like a vacant section offers a clear advantage. In some cases, rather than fighting or ignoring obviously favored paths, the desire line is converted to a real paved path. This is common practice for universities with traditional greens or quads. Other times, desire lines show a conflict between modes. Here, we see where cyclists have created their own path to avoid potentially hitting or being slowed by pedestrians. From a planning perspective, it provides a good opportunity to create or expand infrastructure to accommodate non-motorized modes.
In 1998, Dutch architect Rem Koolhaas won a fiercely competitive bid to design a new building at the Illinois Institute of Technology. It would be his first project in the United States. This is what he designed. Back in 1997, he had a team go and observe the way students moved across campus, the way they cut to and from residence halls and academic buildings across this lot under the train tracks. He used those desire lines to inform the interior layout of the building, which won wide critical acclaim at its unveiling. Schools from the University of Maryland to UC Berkeley to Virginia Tech, Ohio State, all have some version of this lore. The campus was pathless until students formed their own paths, which were later formalized by bricks. Weirdly enough, hashtags are another example of desire lines at work. They're everywhere now, but Twitter's designers didn't build that feature. Their users did. In early 2007, a Twitter user, who also happened to be a developer, Chris Messina, suggested that Twitter began grouping topics using the hash symbol. Twitter kind of shrugged it off.
There are fires all along the roadway there.
It just came roaring through.
In October 2007, San Diego County was besieged by a series of wildfires.
It just seems to be uncontrollable, unpredictable. There's just no words.
For almost a month, the county was engulfed in flames. Over 500,000 people were evacuated and 10 people died. During the firestorm, people began using the hashtag #SanDiegoFire, at Messina's suggestion, to post updates about the rapidly changing situation. It was clear that people wanted a way to join specific conversations organized by topic. The hashtag took off. By 2009, Twitter had officially incorporated the hashtag into its platform. Desire lines are the unvarnished truth about how people use what you've built. So, Pave the Cow Paths has emerged as a mantra among the people who build apps and platforms, user experience designers. They think of the internet as a wide-open, grassy plain, and they can watch to see what users do and where they go. Once you see how desire lines work, you'll spot them everywhere. Celebrities from Ariana Grande to Kim Kardashian to Twitter founder Jack Dorsey have all used screenshots of the Notes app to get around the limitations of Twitter or Instagram. So you could think of that as a desire line. Google's autocomplete search results are another response to desire lines.
So our job is to watch for these desire paths emerging, and where appropriate, pave them.
Designers are using our behaviors and desires to shape the digital worlds we inhabit. Now that you know what desire lines are and how they function, you'll probably start seeing and feeling them at work in all of the digital tools you use.
Desire lines are not a new concept. They go back centuries, even millennia. For example, England has desire line paths carved by animals, people, and later by vehicles that have existed so long they have carved the path into small canyons or nearly tunnels called holloways. In other countries, desire lines are named after the animals that by habit created the lines that were then followed by hunters, farmers, or others. They take names like elephant paths or cow paths. In the United States, thousands of years ago, animals carved paths into grasslands and forests along common routes to water and salt. Native Americans followed these paths for hunting, and European settlers converted these paths into trails and cart roads, then modernized them and integrated them into winding city roads. The famous road Broadway in New York City is perhaps one of the most famous examples of a Native American desire line, called the Witquazeq Trail, which eventually became part of the modern road network. Desire lines are also a useful concept in better understanding movements at intersections. In many cities, planners study where pedestrians actually cross the roadway to try and redirect pedestrians back into designated crossing locations. This may take the form of something like a median fence, or attempt to alter the roadway to make something like a mid-block crossing safer for everyone. In their most innocuous forms, desire lines simply reflect poor design of public spaces. They are generally harmless and are more of a nuisance in terms of maintaining grass or other vegetation. However, there can be more serious consequences. A poorly designed intersection where people don't want to or can't comply with the planned path can put pedestrians and cyclists at risk. In some countries and in many very urban settings, it is common for people to cross roadways outside of crosswalk. But once outside of these fairly dense locations where this behavior is common, crossing a road outside of an intersection crosswalk puts pedestrians outside of these protected zones and in locations that are not expected by drivers. Desire lines reflect how people really interact with the built environment, rather than how planners wish people would. By better observing the demands of people, we can develop more responsive infrastructure in the future.